Will Brinson, CBS Sports, senior NFL writer, does a great job. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got a boatload of plays. I wrote this down because the last time we had you on, we talked about your moms, okay?
That's right.
I don't remember, but for some reason I feel like your mom's name is Shirley. Am I right?
That is not even on the right side of the alphabet. That's my mom's name.
Tell Shorty I said I'm sorry.
That's fine. She's Reverend Ann.
Ann!
The retired Reverend Ann. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
That's fine.
I meant Ann. Now, let's get to know Will a little bit before we get into the football, because I mentioned you're young, but I feel like I've been reading you for years.
Am I young? I feel so old.
Are you and I the same? 45-ish, somewhere in there?
I'm 40. I'm 42. I'm 42.
Thank God,
Will,
dude. I thought he was coming
Will,
in the
do you know how
30s
old
with
you
the
are?
answer.
Like, what's going on right now?
I swear to God, this is a true story. I forgot how old I was for 9 months. I thought I was a year older than I actually was, and my now ex was like, she's like, dude, you are 35 or you're 36. For the love of God, you're not 30. You're not 37. You're 36. And I was like, well, that's pretty awesome. I just got 9 months of my 9 months of my life back. So
it might be Amal, because of the next thing I wanted to bring up, all the fish shows he attended, because you do some shady stuff at a fish show and you can lose some brain cells. And Fish is actually playing tonight at the Sphere. I believe you guys said. Are you going to go?
Hey, they're playing in April. If they're playing tonight, you would. Yeah,
okay.
I would. They're playing in April 4 nights. If anybody who's listening to this knows how to get tickets, can get your guy tickets, I'm not sure what I could do to I don't know. I'm not going to tell. I will give you personal fantasy football advice for life if you get me in the Sphere for Fish.
I thought he was ready to admit he was going to break many laws to get those tickets on national radio.
I will do that. I mean, the FCC can go. Bleep itself or whatever. Can I say that? Can I say that?
You just did.
I think you just
Sorry,
did.
FCC.
It's all good. Well,
I love you, FCC.
So to go back, so 42, so much younger, obviously. So how long have you been a senior writer at CBS talking about the NFL?
There's some dumb corporate logistics about that, but I've been at CBS for 12 years, which is a long time to work somewhere, right?
Absolutely. No, it's impressive, especially as a writer, right? So many guys usually don't stick around as long.
Yeah. What happened? It really is like corporate. They had a position. And I'd been working at CBS for, I think, 2 or 3 years, and my boss had jokingly, I was like, dude, I need a promotion, need a raise, damn it. And he was like, fine. And he made business cards for me and gave me the title Senior NFL Blogger, which was just it's a slap in the face. And so finally, they actually did give me the promotion and name me senior. So it's me and Pete Briscoe are the only 2 senior NFL writers left, and Pete is significantly older than me.
Look, I think most people listening, Will Brinson joining us here on Sharp Money, are probably jealous. They'd love to write and talk about the NFL for a living, and that's exactly
awesome.
what you do. So that's great.
No, it's one of those things. You guys, same thing with you guys, right? You talk about sports for a living, talk about betting for a living, and it is easy to, if you do it for a long time, I think you can get a little jaded. You're like, Thursday night football with the Jets and the Browns, right?
Yeah.
But I love football. I love sports. I had an hour to kill earlier today, and so I went down to the sports book at Circa. And actually, you know what? I was sitting there, and I looked over, and I was like, I forgot they have the little tweets that scroll here. I was like, I'm going to tweet right now and see if it goes on the board. And 5 seconds later, it was on the board. It was awesome.
Tremendous.
I tweeted about David Tepper, and it wasn't even a great tweet. I just was tweeting to see if it would show up.
So there's no approval process.
There's
now
no
you should
approval.
test the limits of it.
I should tweet Will Brinson as the most handsome man. That would be stupid, I suppose. But I was actually down there to bet on the Texas Tech under because my boy Will Newman, who is a avid VSiN listener, he came out for his bachelor party to Vegas, and he didn't stay up. He went to bed early one night so he could get up early enough to go and go see Mitch and Paulie on the morning show. He went over at 5 in the morning. He got up and went and got breakfast and came over to the VSiN studios to watch them do their show live. That's how much he loves VSiN. So Shout out to Newman, who told me to take the Texas Tech under. Not so shout out to Newman because he got 144 and I got 141, and it landed in between them. So.
You got the worst. Yeah. Shout to Newman, Will Newman, Will Brinson's buddy. And again, you can hear Will tonight with Tim Murray. I'm looking forward to listening myself. Amal, if you don't mind, I want to start where we started the show with Will. Will, you would agree that at 7-7, the Rams have overachieved this year based on roster and division, and then at 7-7, based on roster and division, we've got the Saints underachieving this year. Is that a fair characterization of these two franchises tonight? Got the Rams laying 4.
I was going to wait till when I was hosting tonight to point this out, but I am possibly the world's biggest Los Angeles Rams fan. As you can see here, an homage shirt. My shirt for NFL Jam with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp on here that I brought to Vegas.
Lit.
Yeah, these shirts are great. They're the most comfortable shirts on the planet too. Highly recommend them. Great. I'm not shilling for them. They don't give me anything. I love the shirts and the product. But Matthew Stafford is my favorite player in the NFL. When Phillip Rivers retired, I needed a new guy. I needed a new team. Chargers broke my heart too much. Colts were fine. Jumped on Stafford's bandwagon. They won the Super Bowl right away. So it may be an NC State thing. That may be the problem. Stafford's playing awesome football. I think he should be in the MVP conversation. Last 4 weeks, he has been outstanding. He's completely healthy. The deep ball is there. Cooper Kupp has got a touchdown in each of his last 3 games. And the Rams defensively do a great job at what the Saints try to do on offense, which is the short passing. And I was on the Rams. I love the Rams over. I thought the Rams were a dark horse to win the division, to make the playoffs this year. So to me, they're achieving what they should have done. McVay deserves some Coach of the Year love too, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you there on that one. I want to go back to the shirt real quick. That shirt can't be more than 2 years old. How does it look like it's 20 years old?
That's like all their shirts are like. Well, feel how comfortable that thing is.
Oh, that is solid.
Yeah,
that is nice.
And then if you're let's say you're a Raiders fan, you can go get an Aiden O'Connell, Devontae Adams, NFL Jam shirt. I think they're doing now. I don't know who.
Will Brinson can tweet. I'm the most handsome man and got the softest T-shirts in town. Yeah. There you go. There's your tweet for Circa.
Homage.com, man. They're awesome.
I want to go back to
use promo code Brinson for 15% off.
He's already angling.
I don't actually know that that's a promo code, but those guys are awesome.
You mentioned the positives for the Rams in this matchup. What about the Saints when you look at them? Derek Carr, how does he fit in with this team? You've got some threats on the perimeter. Olave, Michael Thomas has been injured, but Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. It feels like this team has been inconsistent, and you've covered the NFL for a long time. You have a tremendous amount of insight. Who does Dennis Allen have pictures of?
I think what's interesting is, so I saw one of the Saints beat writers tweet out last week that for the first, and Nick Underhill does a great job. I think it's neworleans.football.com, runs his own site, really plugged in on the beat. But he said for the first time, as long as he's covered the Saints, and he's covered them for a long, long time, they didn't introduce the coach after they introduced the team last week. In other words, people are sick and tired of Dennis Allen in New Orleans. I think part of the issue with him is that Sean Payton left, and that was an unexpected departure, right? People didn't think that was coming, and I think they wanted to keep some stability. Remember, Tom Benson, didn't die that long ago. Gail Benson's running the team, but it's really Mickey Loomis's show. Mickey Loomis wants to keep some consistency, and if you're Mickey Loomis, in the NFL, you don't want to as soon as you fire somebody as a general manager, you're putting yourself on the clock, right? So by bringing in Dennis Allen, it's sort of like, well, that's kind of like it's almost Sean's hire, Gail. It's not really my hire, and I'm going to go back to worrying about Zion Williamson because I'm running the Pelicans too for some weird reason. I think the idea that you could bring in Derek Carr with Dennis Allen, it's like, well, they've worked together before. That's going to go great. It's like they were 0-5 in Oakland. He got fired halfway through the season with Derek Carr. Why is that going to magically work? Carr's got 2 concussions, a shoulder injury, a rib injury, and he won't take himself out because he's worried Jameis is going to steal his job. And it's like, dude, take a break. I think that the Saints are massively overachieving relative to the talent on the roster. The defense has kept them in games, and they've gotten lucky. The Panthers being just miserable has helped them out, and the Falcons can't seem to get it together. So I think it's more of a division byproduct. In most divisions, they're just a bottom feeder. I think the Rams blow them out this week, and I think we see Dennis Allen potentially, along with Arthur Smith, if the Falcons keep failing, and certainly Frank Reich already gone, we could see three vacancies in the NFC South.
So no need to infer. Will Brinson's got the Rams laying 4 and loves it tonight. He's got 6 plays. I want to save some of those plays so they're fresh when Will and Tim are hosting the show right after us here, Sharp Money. So excited to have our boy Will Brinson in. We'll go around the NFL next. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer over at CBS Sports, friend of the show, and he's going to be hosting Primetime with Tim Murray right after us. So I'm looking forward to that.
By the way,
Will,
Newman won once. I assume the government knows about this, so I don't spill the beans. But Newman won $25K on a DraftKings tennis DFS in 21 time. Yeah, Newman's sharp.
Newman is sharp.
He would sign up for DraftKings and do the no sweat same game parlay, but not yet legal in the great state of North Carolina. January, I think the day of the national championship game is when legal sports betting launches in North Carolina. So absolutely we'll be using that promo code SHARP to sign up for DraftKings.
You can get a T-shirt too, maybe over there, Brinson.
I'm nothing if not promiscuous.
But I want to ask you. I love it. Indy and Atlanta. You talked about coaching openings potentially, and I don't think Arthur Smith is going anywhere. And by the way, Atlanta's laying 2, Indy in town, big game for both. But this Desmond Ridder conversation, like that pick against Charlotte and Carolina over the weekend was, I don't even know how to explain it. It's inexplicable.
It's the worst
and
pick
so
of the
now
year.
he goes Heineke, and that makes sense. But Arthur Smith, any trouble here if they don't end up making the postseason, the Falcons?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you heard Arthur Blank asked about it. It was like, we'll evaluate after the season, which is like saying I will fire him if he doesn't win this terrible division. I mean, that's what it sounded like to me. I think it's possible he gets another year. And the problem with the Falcons, though, is that if they end up like hovering around the division lead, they're going to end up with like the 11th pick or something like that. And they've just used 3 straight top 10 picks on stud offensive weapons and can't do anything on offense. My boy Connor Allen, who works at, I do sound like I'm from Pennsylvania. What the hell is the matter with me? Connor Allen sounds like Scott Hansen when he talks about Josh Allen with a touchdown. Connor Allen, who works at 4x4, 4for4, posted this ranking offensive play callers after Week 15 for the season. And it's this metric score that was done by Patent Analytics. It's like Kyle Shanahan has a plus 0.6 on the metric score. Andy Reid's like plus 0.5. Mike McDaniel, Mike McCarthy. You know, the names you would expect to see at the top, right? And then down at the bottom, Bill O'Brien at like a minus 0.5. Arthur Smith, -1. He has like double the work in terms of play calling and what he brings to the table. And I like Arthur Smith as a coach. I think that he's gotten... Like I picked the Falcons to win the division before the season, thinking they were trying to be Tennessee, like the homeless man's version of the Titans, where Desmond Ridder is a broke D version of, I think I can say that, right? Is that not the word, but I can say broke D. Yeah, right. Okay,
yeah, fine.
Right. I mean,
I said scumbag 4 times in the first segment.
Scumbag? Is it legal according to the FCC?
That's the 5th time.
Is that not a legal word? What is?
By the way, I appreciate you guys getting us canned right before the holiday. I'm ready to hit the tables.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, now I'm petrified of what I can say and can't say on the air. Arthur, I thought, Desmond Ridder is going to be the broke man's version of Ryan Tannehill. Bijan Robinson, they're going to feed him like Arthur Smith fed Derrick Henry in Tennessee. And they're going to have this one big wideout, Drake London, who's like the, sort of cheap version of A.J. Brown. And then, Kyle Pitts, who's just going to get involved for once in his career. No, apparently not. That's not what it's going to be. The defense is good, and the offense should be good. And he's just sticking with Des Ridder. And the real crime is that, and I know Frank Schwab was talking about this on, I think, on Primetime last night, but, like, you could have gone out and given away picks for Lamar Jackson. He was there. At least offer him an offer sheet and go get Lamar, put him in this offense where you run the quarterback a ton, and the Falcons could be Super Bowl contenders. And instead, Arthur Smith might get fired. Terry Fontenot might get fired. I mean, it's tough to justify being this bad when you've invested on offense, when you've invested this much in your offense over the last 3 years, and not being in, like, you're in contention, but you're not going to win the division, and Tampa's going to win it at like 9-8 or 8-9.
Amal, the idiocy, here's the crazier part. Arthur Smith might get fired because of pride. Yeah. Because they paid Taylor Heineke a lot to be a backup there, and yet he kept refusing. I know we went to him once, but Heineke gives you a better opportunity, Amal, than Desmond Ridder, and he kept going back to Ridder on pride.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I never understood that. We talked about it from the beginning. Patrick and I thought we'd see Heineke in there much sooner than we have. And to your point, right, they draft Pitts, number 4, I think, Drake London.
8. Bijan and Drake were 8 overall.
Exactly.
And 4.
I mean, you drafted some of these guys, but here's the problem. I'm not taking a quarterback from a basketball school. That's what Desmond Ridder is. I mean, this guy, I said it yesterday, is the best bounce passer UC's had since Nick Van Exel. He's terrible. He should not be the starting quarterback there. And
this sounds like Luke Fickell hate, by the way.
No, it's just, listen, I go back to the game against Alabama. There were receivers that were open. He couldn't find them. And Arthur Smith obviously didn't watch tape on that game, Patrick, and that's why you see the situation that they're in right now. Guys, I think we might see a change. I think Arthur Smith will be grabbed by somebody as an OC pretty quickly. Along that same vein, I want to ask you kind of a quick 3-part question. Does Eberflus, whatever his name is now,
Eberflus,
thank you, survive? If you are the Bears, do you keep Fields? And then finally, what does Ryan Poles do?
Besides not get fired, I think Poles is probably safe.
Yeah.
Eberflus, it'll be interesting. The Bears, I think that Eberflus is going to be safe because if you look at what the Bears do, and it's interesting, when you start like digging into some of these teams, you kind of, if you've been around the league for long enough and follow the NFL long enough, you start to realize that like George McCaskey, who's the chairman of the Bears, and looks like the accountant you really don't want to go visit, and like that dude's. I mean, I didn't play football, but I'm just like short and unathletic. Like this guy is like he definitely never played football. Like he is a beanpole nerd. He's like, oh, very excited to bring the Bears back. It's like, shut up, George. But like he's the guy running it. Except he's hired Ryan Poles, and now Ryan Poles isn't going to let him fire. Again, you go back to you don't want to fire Matt Eberflus, right? Because if you're Ryan Poles, you're starting the clock on your second coach. And you rarely see Tom Telesco in Los Angeles, a good example. You rarely see a coach or a GM get 3 coaches. So I think what you're going to have happen is, George is going to let Ryan Poles decide on Eberflus. And the defense has played really well the last month or so. They bring in Montez Sweat. I think he is the first player in NFL history to lead 2 teams in sacks at the same time, which is just a weird stat. He leads the Commanders and the Bears somehow. But the Bears' run defense has been really good. Bears are playing better. And I think they're kind of getting to the point where they might have to keep Fields because your boy Marvin Harrison Jr. is a stud.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to have – I mean, I don't think a wide receiver's ever – Keyshawn Johnson, the last wide receiver to go first overall.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you either trade the pick and let somebody come up and get Caleb Williams, and you don't go down further than 3, hopefully, because you want to get Marvin Harrison. You get it, and you take the Panthers pick, your Bears pick that you already have, and you go get help for Justin Fields and put him around him because I didn't like Fields coming out. I still think he's got a lot of work to do as a passer. But fashion an offense around Fields and build around him and give him help. And I think that you have as much upside as you do with Caleb Williams, who, quite frankly, didn't play that well last year.
It's a fast look. They might want to get the cheap contract on the rookie. You mentioned Williams. They're going to have the number 1 overall pick from Carolina. The Eberflus conversation is fascinating, boys, because he better go out and figure out who he wants to hire offensively because that's really the rub. Like, his teams play great down the stretch, and his defense is tremendous. But, Will, the big conversation about Eberflus is what are they going to do if they do keep Fields as far as continuing getting better on offense, or if they're bringing a kid, like, what system do you want to run?
Yeah, and, I mean, it wouldn't be a draft segment if I didn't take an obligatory shot at Drake May, who's never beaten NC State, nor has he ever really beaten a good defense. But he is an athletic freak, and I think he's
Drake May, man, I'm sorry. I never watched and was like, that's the guy. I never got that vibe.
He's like the smallest arms. Like, I mean, I've never lifted in my life, and I've got bigger biceps than Drake May, which is just maybe I can't throw the football, worth of crap, but he can. I think, anyway, but with the Bears, I mean, if Luke Getsy, I'm looking at this chart, too, with the offensive play callers. He's bottom 4. And what drives me nuts about Getsy is that the last 2 years, the Bears get out to this terrible start. They're like, man, we stink. We are just not very good. They're like, well, I guess we'll just run Justin Fields. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Why didn't you do that to start the season? Build an offense around Fields. It's wild to me. You see these NFL coaches And general managers who let the coaches do it go out and build offensive, like, well, I'm just going to run my system. I'm going to run my system. I don't care who the quarterback is. No, you do what smart coaches do, and you take Justin Fields and you build an offensive scheme around him. And you've seen with Fields, like, since he came back from injury too, he's really done a good job of getting down, and I think that's changed his game. Sorry. That was a rant.
No, you're great. That was tremendous. And thank you, buddy, for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks
Will
for having me.
Brinson. You can hear much more of them right after us. VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Will Brinson coming up. Thanks, Will. Great to see you, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.